What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Pete and Joe. The rookies drop by. My name is Joe Mazzullo. This is my man, Pete Smith. Special shout out to OBR.com and the OBR streaming network for hosting us. And gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back. Pete Smith, how you doing, big guy?
All right, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in. We got training camp kicking off on Thursday. And speaking of the rookies dropping by, guess who I ran into at Walmart today, Pete?
I can only imagine.
I ran into Denzel Boston today at Walmart. That
yeah?
kid is put together. Goodness gracious. Anyway,
that's the thing. Did you ask him to cook you something? Is that what he was doing? Is he buying groceries? He can cook.
No, I looked at his feet. I said, how do you move those things so well? Good Lord, sir. Good Lord. That's a big man with little man feet. I'm all about it. All right. So, Pete, I was thinking about kicking off this little training camp thing on Thursday. In my opinion, we've got 4 positions on the Browns that I'm not settled. Dude, come on, man. That we are not settled with in terms of depth. We're not happy, right? I think we have depth at a lot of spots that I feel good about. And obviously, I didn't include quarterback on this because that's not that's just not whatever. All right. But let's first talk about tight end, right? We're going to talk about the depth battle at tight end and our situation at tight end. I think the only person we're happy with is Harold Fannin. Yeah. I mean, not that we don't like everybody, but it's in terms of like a number 2 tight end and all that, right?
Through that context, yes. Harold Fann's the only guy who's proven anything, although weirdly enough, like the Jack Stoll does have a 100-yard receiving game to his career.
All right. Well, hey, it's something to hold on to. There's not a lot in that tight end room. We got to hold on to what we can. So
yes,
go ahead.
Yep, 100%. It's Harold Fannin and guys.
All right. So the way I approach this, right? I feel like our number 2 tight end is, as of right now, I would probably say Jack Stoll, but like you've told me that Blake Whiteheart gets a ton of reps. Is that why in line as well?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, though, that's what those guys are doing. And then obviously that's where Joe Royer's largely going to play.
Mm-hmm. Royer I have as roughly a roster lock. I think it would be an upset if he didn't make the roster just because of the competition that he's up against, right? But my guys on the fence, I've got Blake Whiteheart, I've got Carson Ryan, and I think those 2 are pretty much fighting it out for that 3rd and 4th spot, right?
Yeah, I think Carson Ryan is even though I think the Browns aspire him to do more things, I think he's going to end up being the backup to Fannin and then hopefully do these other things. Like, I think they want to get in a world he can be the fullback and do H-back stuff, and they can put both of them on the field if they want. But yeah, so that's where I think he lines up. So then it's a 3-man race theoretically for the inline position and some other dirty work stuff.
All right. Well, so you take the guys on the roster, and then I've got a couple different options here. I've got my 1 selection of guys that could be cut. They're in a bit of a roster crunch based on teams drafting tight ends this year, having established guys ahead of them. So my 2 guys that are possible cap cuts, I've got Dallin Bentley, who was a rookie last year, went undrafted out of Utah. And then I've got Cade Stover, who's in a bit of a crunch in Houston.
Bentley's this year. He was in this class.
Was Dallin Bentley in this class?
Yes, he's just really old. It wounded me when I found out he was like 25 years old.
Yeah, I thought he was in last year. Okay, well then let's just.
That's why he went undrafted. But nevertheless, it remains true. And then Cade Stover is interesting because I have been yelled at a number of times about how great Cade Stover was going to be. Farmer Gronk, the Browns can't pass up on. He has not done squat. He had like a brief moment, but then he got hurt and just has not done much of anything for Houston. And it's the same deal. He was old, coming out, and just did not deliver. And at the time, there were all these people, oh man, Farmer Gronk, he's going to be a steal for the Texans. And it just nothing.
Yeah. He's a little more sturdy as a blocker, though, right? He's a little more solid in that respect.
That was the theory. I don't think he's been much of a blocker either. That's sort of the prop. That's why I think he's on the on potential
outside looking in
for Houston is because he just hasn't been able to do it. And then like again, when he started getting a little momentum, he got injured.
Mm-hmm. How about if you look to free agency right now? There's a couple of bigger names out there, and I realistically, Pete, I think it would probably be a tall order to convince these guys to come to Cleveland in the state that this team is in right now. But there are some solid veteran options like Jonnu Smith is still out there, Zach Ertz, who is as old as dirt, but might be a nice replacement for Njoku in the offense to allow Harold Fannin a little more freedom to move around. And then I've got Will Dissly as well.
Yeah, my immediate reaction to guys like that are some of them are going to wait and see if a contender wants them or
Yeah.
see what's out there. So I don't know that there's going to be a ton of interest. And then Johnny Smith is another. He can't play in line. So if Harold Fan was to come up hurt tomorrow, and hopefully he does not, I think Johnny Smith becomes the first call because he can slot in that position. Now I do not want that to happen because I think he's cooked, and he's maybe still trying to play for Arthur Smith at Ohio State this year, but still. That's the problem is you need guys you have theoretically guys who can line up in space and do that stuff. You need the guys who can do the inline work, and that's why this becomes difficult. So there's a couple teams just around the league who are just hoarding guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Philadelphia, and none of these guys are great by any stretch. But just because I remember going through this and looking around, they've got Dallas Goedert. They got Johnny Munt, who's going to be a toolsy, dirty work dude. They drafted your boy Eli Stowers. I'm assuming
he's a witch with the ball in his hands, Pete.
Yeah,
I don't care how he blocks. He doesn't block. I can ignore that aspect of his game because it isn't a part of it. You know me. I think he should be a big receiver.
Which is what I think they're going to do with him, which makes them then have to consider how else they want to do it. So behind him, Stone Smart, I don't know who that is. EJ Jenkins, Cameron Latu, who has been with the Browns before on their practice squad as this exact role. So I could see that being a guy that they try against. I could also see Blake Whiteguard being a guy they try to put on the practice squad because they've done it. Same thing with him and Brandon Bates are sort of in the same mode. Then they've got Grant Calcaterra, who I don't think is going to win that job, but he's another space player. And then they've got Daquan Wright, who I do like. As sort of a big body. Now he's a rookie. My whole concern is you need somebody who can plug and play. I don't know if he can do that, but for some reason, let's just say that the Browns said we really liked him coming out of college. We just couldn't get him. And the Eagles cut the gate and try to get him to their practice squad. I could see a world where they scoop him up.
All right. And that's the best part of training camp is that we're going to get so many answers, right? Like there's so many things that we don't know in terms of, I mean, basically everything top to bottom is going to be brand new from this team, from this regime. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work these young guys in, what they expect of them, and if they make any calls, pre-injury, obviously, if any injuries occur, they're going to make calls, but it's interesting that they're going into camp like this without, reaching out to veterans at that spot. And then this next spot too, we've been talking about this for a while. This is a spot they completely neglected in the draft that really threw me off. And that's defensive end, right? We've got the top three are set, between, Jared Verse and Alex Wright in the starting lineup and Isaiah McGuire right behind Wright. But that fourth and maybe even fifth defensive end is not necessarily a problem spot. It's just very, very thin. You and I both agree that Julian Okwara is not really, have much of a future on this team, right? So like the guys I'm looking at are, Logan Fano and then Tyreek Sapp, but that's where, you're going to kind of look at this. So I went straight to the Falcons, one for your boy. And then the other, if he, if say Cam Thomas wins the job, Atlanta's got Azeez Ojulari as well, who's a nice pass rusher. He's at least in a different, cut from what we have currently.
Well, that regardless of how this thing plays out, I think Mike Rutenberg is going to look at Atlanta and say, I know who's there. Some of these guys weren't there when he was there, but nevertheless, he can easily put in a phone call and find out from Jeff Ulbrich. what he thinks. But like, so for example, we don't know what's going to happen with James Pierce Jr. So right now he's starting.
Mhm.
They've got Kevin Walker. Then behind them, it's Samson Ebukam, who's a nice situational pass rusher. And you mentioned Azeez Ojulari. After that, at least according to our lad, so this could all obviously be subject to change, is Cam Thomas.
Yep.
That's how deep they are. And then they've got a bunch of former third-round picks. So not that this was a guy I necessarily like, but nevertheless, former third-round pick. Maybe the Browns scouting department will say, "Oh, we liked him when he was coming out." Braylon Trice is sitting there as a former third-round pick. D'Angelo Malone is sitting there as a former third-round pick. They've also got to get him, Keyshawn Banks, who I don't necessarily know, but that's where I sit there and look. If they keep 5, everybody else could theoretically be cut. Or if Atlanta gets themselves into a situation where they go, yeah, we like certainly we like what we've got in Cam Thomas, but he's not so much better than the next man up. We could go and potentially like say we'd like to get another receiver, and we like Cedric Tillman, and you could go, we'll swap it. Maybe they even throw like a 7th-round pick or something with it, but whatever.
Yeah,
that's where I could see that being a situation where you go, okay, you know, I question Cam Thomas leaving to jump there, but never, whatever. But I could see that be a situation where the Browns go, we know him, we like him, he can fit the scheme, and get him back that way. But regardless, I think they are going to look at that position. The other team, I think, obviously that would fit in this category. I don't know if I love anything they have necessarily in the edge, would be San Francisco, which, as again, Browns picked up a guy in the offseason at D tackle in Clea Davis because he's got a relationship with Robert. I'm not going to say this is the only reason, but he has a relationship with Robert Saleh. So they're sitting around looking. I don't doubt that he's going to pick up the phone, or Robert Saleh's going to pick up the phone and say, what do you think of this? So right now, they got Michael Williams, who did nothing as a rookie, and I don't know what his health status is coming off the ACL. Got Nick Bosa. Behind him, they've got Keon White. They got picked from the Patriots.
Yep. He was a first rounder, wasn't he?
Who?
Keon White. Wasn't he like a surprise first round pick, or was he second?
Second. Then they've got some guy named Sam Okuyamonu, who I don't know who that is. Doesn't matter. Then they've got Romello Height, who they drafted in round 3. One guy who might be interesting to me, which is Cam Sample, who was a former. And like they've got Mikhail Kamara, who I thought was interesting as an undrafted pass rusher. Andrew Farmer, William Bradley King. Like I could see a world where they're like, oh yeah, we like one of these guys for the exact same reason, and it's not gonna be like a big name, but you could sit there and talk yourself into. I could talk like I could see the Browns talking themselves into somebody like Cam Sample.
What about, so I'm going to throw this out, and I already don't necessarily believe that he would want it, and I don't think that they would want to spend the money, right? But you've got Leonard Floyd sitting in free agency right now, and I know he's a little long in the tooth, but he had a nice year under Rutenberg last year, and they at least know each other. And to me, I can't imagine a more perfect scenario for him to come into with 3 physical DNs that are going to be your run defenders and your rundown guys, and then he just comes in pass rush situations.
Yeah, I could see that. It's all obviously that's a question of does Leonard Floyd really like the time he had with Rutenberg?
Rutenberg, yeah.
And that could be yes. And does he want to come to Cleveland? Because he may be sitting there and going, well, if I hold out, into camp or something, I may get to jump on a team that's potentially got more aspirations. But if not, like, or he just likes the relationship or whatever. We've seen that before. Yeah, I could easily see that. And then they get a legitimate guy where Rutenberg can put him in position to succeed, and hopefully he can, surprise you and give you like 5-6 sacks or something over the course of a year. Or maybe he has a big year and you get like 8 as a situational pass rusher, because somebody's going to have to put up a number that's going to like fill in some of the gaps that they're losing.
Yeah, agreed. Well, my next position, Pete, we're moving right down the line into defensive tackle, because I love Mason Graham, And I really like Malik Collins, but he's on a 1-year deal and he's coming off an injury and he's over 30. And then we got Mike Hall, who's very injury prone. Impressive in the, limited sample size we've seen of him, but he's always hurt. So like you said, we brought in Kalia Davis, we brought in Elijah Chapman. We still have the potential of Tyreek Sapp to kind of be an inside-outside guy. Same thing with Aiden Huntington. But this is another position that they might look elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they are clearly banking heavily on Mike Hall Jr. And obviously
they should be. He was a second-round pick 2 years ago. Like, I get it.
They obviously had that small scare at OTAs, and they fit him up with a brace. He took more reps than anybody because Graham was in the boot, Collins was there, and they were thin. Like they brought in guys
just for reps.
But they also claimed guys. They claimed a dude from the Giants, like Chapman or whatever his name
Chapman, Elijah Chapman.
Until minicamp. So he was there and watching. So Mike Hall got all these reps and all these reps and all these reps. And it seemed like Jacques Césaire was like really happy with what he got out of those reps. Now, obviously, it's got to carry over and stay healthy. And again, between his rookie year before the bad knee injury and then these OTAs, like the flashes are impressive. Like you can easily talk yourself into what he does, but it's all about consistency. It's all about staying healthy. So if you squint and you go, Malik Collins is going to come back, and I don't know when we're going to. I don't think he's going to be ready for training camp, but we've not heard anything definitive. But if you're sitting there going, it doesn't look great right this second, but we know we're going to get a world where Mason Graham, who looked fantastic before he got in the boot, like I know they don't have pads on, but he looks different this year. Malik Collins, who was heading towards a career year before the injury, if he can just get back to that, what he was last year, he doesn't need to like get better. And then Mike Hall can do what he does. That's going to take a load off of everything else. Kalia Davis, he's a role player. I think he's effectively going to be a lot like what's his face, Jordan, the former third round pick the Browns had.
Jordan Elliott.
Yeah, Jordan Elliott. I think he's going to be that type of player. I like how one of the things that like people get hung up on is like the Browns need a guy who weighs like 340 to hunker down. But what you run into, unless you have a super freaky athlete, is when they try to teams expose them by forcing them to work laterally, work down the line. And what I've seen from Kalia Davis, and granted, he's risky in his own right because he basically had one healthy year last year. Is he's really good at working down the line. It's one of the things I loved about Juwan Briggs, and I'm still bitter that they traded him because he's really good at that. So that gives them a pretty interesting situation. And then again, what is Aiden Huntington to them? It may depend on what they do elsewhere. Yeah. Like if they were able to get Leonard Floyd, for example, maybe Aiden Huntington is now a tackle. If they were to get some free agent defensive tackle who they like, Aiden Huntington may become more of a full-time end. I'm not sure that that's the way they view it, but because of what he does, because he plays that big end position, I can see him basically being whatever they don't have.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we've talked about the top three being set. Number 4 is Kalia Davis, and I would assume that Kalia Davis is going to make the team. But if
oh, absolutely,
crazier things have happened though. So as for this exercise, right, we've got Kalia Davis, we've got Aiden Huntington and Elijah Chapman, and then looking at free agents, we got Mario Edwards, who played for Houston last year, and then Larry Ogunjobi, our old friend, is a free agent at the moment. But what I like is I looked in Cincinnati and I looked in New York for an old friend of ours. I think Chris Jenkins might get cut, or at least be on the fringe where maybe like a late round, pick swap trade or, a player for player trade. So one of those like camp deals that, you're getting rid of your guy, I'm getting rid of my guy type deal. And then the other one is Juwan Briggs.
Jr.?
What's that? Yes, Chris Jenkins Jr.
No chance. The Bengals
no chance?
They do not trade players that are under contract for cheap. The money way, they will hold on to him like grim death. They don't care how bad he is. He is free or cheap labor. They won't give him up.
I'm just looking at the roster crunch though, because the roster spot could come down to him or Landon Robinson, who's another young guy they just drafted on a cheap contract. All I'm saying is if he's gonna get cut, like they added Dexter Lawrence, they added Jonathan Allen. I looked over the depth chart, man. He's like at best, he's like fourth on the depth chart right now.
Well, let's see something. I want to see what TJ Slayton makes for money.
Yeah.
Because one, there's two parts to this. One, he might make enough money that they can cut him, and two, that doesn't help me because I don't want him. I can't get over the fact that he's just bad. 2 years? No way. He's got a $15 million contract. So no, that's genuinely an interesting question. I wonder if the Bengals get into a world where they keep 10 defensive linemen and four of them are ends, and keep
It looks like it.
tackles.
They've got some good players at defensive tackle that they would have to move off of.
Well, because or
at least vested guys that they've invested in.
That's genuinely an interesting question because you obviously everybody goes, "Oh, they got Dexter Lawrence," but what you sort of forget about, you always hammer on, they got Jonathan Allen and BJ Hill, who's been a good, like you would think BJ Hill is going to be in on primary rundowns, and then Jonathan Allen's going to come in and rush the passer. But is TJ Slayton with that contract going to be the backup nose? In which case, are you just going to sit there with McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins theoretically is third string, and which fine with me, cut Landon Robinson. I will take him now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't expect them to cut Landon Robinson, but maybe that makes more sense. They hope they can get him on the practice squad or something.
Crazy about and again, this between the trade of getting Dexter Lawrence in the first place and doing some of the stuff they've never done before in terms of actually getting into shifting cap.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're willing to trade because their whole thing. Because I will talk to Bengals guys who know their stuff. They're like, would love to do it, won't do it because he's a draft pick. They will.
Well, yeah, but everything is different now, Pete. That these hedge funds can get a piece of the organization and give them money. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that's the whole reason the NFL did that was to allow some of these ownership groups to compete with the big boys with these escalating contracts.
True. The other guy that's on Cincinnati that's interesting in this scenario is Antoine Powell-Ryland for me.
Yeah, Vatek, right?
Yes. But yeah, so the Bengals have a embarrassment of riches in terms of nothing super proven. I mean, because you've got Mafe and Miles Murphy, who's fine. Cassius Howe is obviously a rookie. You've got nothing out of Shamar Stewart, but they're obviously not going to move off him. And then behind them, they got a guy who I loved, who just absolutely has done, Isaiah Foskey, and then Powell-Ryland and Cedric Johnson. And so, all of a sudden, you're going, I could talk myself into grabbing some of these guys late, or maybe there's a weird. This is very difficult because it's very difficult for me to get in the head of the Bengals because they've just never operated this way. Where I could see them trade depth at defensive line here to get a linebacker.
Yeah.
Or something else. But this is very unusual of the Bengals that they are this deep on defensive line.
Yeah. Well, and look, they identified the problem. The problem's been there for 3 years. This is the first time they stepped up and they dedicated an entire offseason to fixing it. They've done a great job. I don't understand, or I don't think you could go in any other direction with Cincinnati. They still have that potent offense, and now they have a defensive line. It's talented. It's deep. A good portion of it is very proven. It's a scary team right now, man. It's the best team in the division.
Because Chris Jenkins Jr. seemingly is right up the Browns' alley, and that's the other part. How are the Bengals going to be willingly allow that to go to Cleveland or something? I'm fascinated. Now you got me fascinated.
They still owe us for Flacco, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so now it's okay, Bengals. How are you gonna get through this? What are you gonna do?
Exactly. And that's the thing. I don't want to have to navigate that. That's tough. That's a lot of good names. There's going to be one or two decisions that you make that you kick yourself about because there's good players that are going to get let go. All right. So last spot is corner. And we made a signing today, Damari Mathis. Is that moved the needle at all for that position, Pete? Do you think this guy is going to stick around, or is this a camp body, a competition body?
Yes, it is a camp body, but because I don't expect him to get a lot of money, but I think he's got a good shot at keeping the job because he's going to be basically the most experienced corner who plays outside behind Ward and Campbell. So he's got a really, really good shot to earn that spot. Could they do more to further bolster that position and get to a point where they're like, this isn't that he falls out? Perhaps. But now, so you've got a situation where you've got the two starters. Now you've got potentially him and D'Angelo Ross, and then maybe only, depending on how many they keep, if they keep 5, maybe one undrafted rookie, or if they keep 2, that could get interesting. But then you've also still got Harden and Bryant that you've got to sort of figure out. So it's really a question of how they want to play it. So I feel pretty good about, unless he gets hurt, Damari Mathis making this team. But I think the Browns are going to keep their eyes open and see what else is out there.
Okay. Couple of free agents I was looking at. We've got Najee Johnson from Kansas City, who's a younger guy, but he's still on the free agent market. And then the versatile veteran Kenny Moore is still a free agent right now for Indy. Either of those guys catch any vibes from you?
Really comes down to what Kenny Moore wants.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously has a ton of experience at slot, but he does have enough experience on the outside that you don't necessarily have to pigeonhole him to the slot. So we'll see if so much depends on what Kenny Moore wants to do. Does he want to play for a team like Browns, or does he want to wait and see what else opens up in terms of playing for a contender, because he's 31, has been a solid player, has made enough money to potentially choose a spot. So we'll see if that changes for him, but certainly it's something that the Browns could look at. Certainly something where you could sit there and go, hey, we're getting a guy who has legitimate slot experience, and who could theoretically play outside. So we cover a lot of bases there. Obviously I like Harden. I'm curious to see what Bryant can do, but I can't argue with them saying, well, we've got this guy who's got I think I looked this up at 1,500 career reps just in the slot or something like that. They're nowhere close. So that makes it sort of tough if you want another veteran in there.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that kind of clears up the portion of the roster that I would say I wish we had more there, or I wish we could have gotten this guy, or wish we could have gotten that guy. I mean, for the most part, they've added a lot of guys they got to feel good about. Would outside of those 4 positions, is there anything on the roster that's really kind of sticking in your craw that you wish they would address, or want them to address, or want to see something happen substantial?
No, and the thing is, with corner, I just look around the league and I see a whole lot of teams that are in the same boat. Everybody needs more corner help except Pittsburgh. So yeah, that's just, to me, I look at it, I just see what the reality of the league right now. But no, those are the big spots that you would like to be better. I mean, the one you could point out to is everybody would love more good offensive linemen. Because when we did our sort of roster projection, the question I come out when I look at it is, do they have 10 guys that are NFL caliber linemen? I don't know the answer to that yet. I think the Browns are hoping that they do, but that's the number you want to get at or more to feel good about your situation. If you keep 9, okay, but that doesn't mean that's probably a result of you didn't feel good enough about the 10th guy.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said, though, you look around the league, how many teams feel really good about their 10th guy? That's
again, same problem. You have very few teams that have enough dudes on the offensive line to feel good about it.
All right. So with the pending quarterback battle that we've got starting in a very near future, I want to talk about some stuff regarding these guys, and especially their relationship. I find it a little bit fascinating, a little bit refreshing. I like the fact that they're working together. I like the fact that they went down to Florida together, all that stuff. I mean, because realistically, you probably could have just, worked out here and you work out there and we'll get, a few receivers, whatever. I like the camaraderie of it. I got to tell you, Pete. So I have a theory. And my theory was, or is, that when we pulled off this trade, when we signed this contract, and we basically gave him everything, part of me thinks there's a stipulation in the contract that if he's healthy, he starts. And the reason I say that is that you go back to 2024 when he was the worst quarterback that like the NFL's seen in a long time. Like the offense was epically bad, all that stuff. And it wasn't even a question. Stefanski, like it was just stone cold. He gives us the best chance to win, yada, yada, yada. He doesn't get hurt. Who knows how that year goes? And now after Haslam already calls it a mistake a year ago, all this other stuff, now he's healthy and they're coming back and he's going to be a part of the competition and he's leading the competition and all this stuff. I'm telling you, Pete, the only way this even makes the slightest bit of sense is if he's going to start because it's in the contract. That's why it's not like this, like bloodlust competition where they hate each other. That's why they're working out together. That's the my take on the situation, and that just it makes sense to me.
No, it's not in the contract, but I do think that's part of why Todd Monken got the job, is because he was willing to at least entertain the idea of trying to resurrect his nonsense. Which bothers me in the first place. I'm not against Todd Monken.
That's my problem, Pete. You just saying that, like you can't even get it out of your mouth without shaking your head because it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
I refuse to believe that these people, like, I don't know. I'm at a loss of words. I don't know.
Well, part of that is I think Todd Monken would have crawled over broken glass for the job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the reality is I think he was willing to say what they wanted to hear, or one guy wanted to hear, in terms of the quarterback position, which is, I will try to make the best of the situation. I won't. Obviously, Kevin Stefanski was more than done with Watson correctly. I think Todd Monken was like, no, I'm open-minded. And then, you sit there as the owner or ownership group, and you sit there, oh, maybe it's not going to be a complete waste. Maybe we can get some value out of this, which is a stupid place to be in. That's not a contractual or anything else. That's an ownership problem. That is, you got to get over it, man. It's done. And anybody's at practice can see it's done. He is not going to be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to, because that's the thing too. If this is entirely driven by ownership and just Jimmy Haslam refusing to let this trade die and try to rekindle whatever he can from it, like I don't understand that, but I at least could be talked into that poor of decision making. But like, it pains me to think that like Andrew Berry might think that he still has something. And once I mean, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm hoping, but like we just
I don't believe that at all.
Yeah,
I think Andrew Berry is just watching college quarterbacks right now. Just sitting.
As he should be.
I'm over here. We're on to 2027. No, I think he's hopeful that Shedeur can show something. And look, that's the part. Like, I think the Haslams are, or one of them anyway, is basically like, give this an honest look, see if you can get something out of Deshaun, but I'm not going to make you do this because ultimately you're going to be judged by wins and losses. Yeah. And if enough football games, it's not going to matter. But this is why there are people who believe that Todd Monken is in a no-win situation and could easily be the one and done because this is what he's been given. And then the Browns keep their options open.
Yeah.
They can get the coach, whoever that guy is, if the Browns are in a good spot to get a quarterback, whoever that guy is, with a much better offensive setup, position to get the quarterback they want, and play it that way. So if you're Todd Monken, you're trying to win as many games as possible. You're trying to develop this offense as much as possible and trying to win football games. Again, I've said all along, based on what I've seen, I think Shedeur is ultimately going to win the job. I think both guys will end up playing in some form or fashion, but I look. I don't
Neither
see that.
guy's the answer.
Well, I don't want to bury Shador's before he's dead, but I think
Yeah.
ultimately, even if he's better, I don't think he's going to be better enough that you're going to like that we're going to be up. It's solved, and it's going to be a question of can they squeak out enough games where even if he's not, he puts them in a weird spot where it might be difficult. But
Isn't that kind of hard though, Pete? With and I guess that's why we frame it like it's almost an impossibility to go from a fifth round pick to a franchise guy, just because in the amount of time that it takes a quarterback to develop and to the whole maturation process, teams have to take a bit of a leap of faith at some point. They have to bank on you. Like, we have faith that you are going to build on this and be better down the line. So we're just going to let you play through whatever little hiccups are, going to be in the short term. But like that also is a slippery slope because if you wait too long and you pass on guys, hoping that this guy turns into something he doesn't, then that's a failure. But then if you move off him too soon and he goes on and he becomes a guy, then that's another failure. So it's like the timing of it is it's next to impossible, man. It's tough.
well, the other part of that is he's a fifth round pick, or even let's say he's a second round pick.
Yeah.
And the Browns are sitting there going, "We've got an opportunity to get what we think is a great quarterback. We're not going to pat. We're going to take two and hope that one of them works. And if it's worked, great. We've got a quarterback. If it's the new kid, great. We've got a quarterback. Like if you're Shador, that is, or somebody who is a fan of Shador, that is not great because obviously your odds drop immediately if they spend big to get into the quarterback. But if you're the Browns, just from a team building standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world. It's the one thing you've got to get right. So you're going to take hopefully as many great swings as possible to do it. So if Shador's like, maybe year three, he's going to become a pretty good quarterback. You still got to take that. Like if I put you on the draft board at 10th pick, and you're like, yeah, I like Shador, you're not going to sit there and go, I don't want a quarterback. I'll pass. You're going to take one and hope that one of them figures it out, so you can make sure that you're right. And even if like injuries happen and everything else, so you're going to take that pick just because it's a smart roster building decision, assuming you love the quarterback that's going to
Yeah,
do it.
but you can't develop two young guys at once. That's
Sure you
my
can.
issue. No, you got to play. You got to play. I can understand sitting a rookie for the first however many games of his rookie year or in the entire season if you want to go that far. But if you've got a third year guy and a second year guy, like you got to play.
Mhm.
Like that's what I mean. You almost have to take that leap of faith and just be like, we're going to roll with you, and you're my guy. You're either going to get me there or whatever.
Disagree. I disagree because I've seen the Packers do this and not care. I watched Sam Darnold talk about how great it was for him to be the backup in San Francisco and how that changed him as a player, not playing, just learning the game.
Yeah, of
And
course.
obviously,
But he was also like, you also have the talent of a top 3 pick that
so
was developed over the course of like 5 years before he got that opportunity.
right. So like if Shador is, let's say, a B quarterback and you draft a guy and you're like, you develop, he's sitting there. Maybe he's gonna be an A by the time he's ready to step in because you just sat him and you played the long game and you didn't rush him because you have that B quarterback that can sort of take the reps and keep going. Like I have zero problem with that. Like I think this is one of those things where I've seen it, I've watched it, I've heard guys talk about it. Like it's all these people are like, oh no, you got to play. You don't. Like as long as you're practicing the right things, as long as you're getting those opportunities to get better, and you're making the right move. And obviously, this comes down to how is he being coached, how is he being developed? Because in San Francisco, Sam Darnold was a great situation, completely changed the trajectory of his career. So if the Browns get a guy and continuously develop him, who cares? Like I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with Taylor Green. Is that realistic? Probably not. But like that's what I hope is that he's getting really good development. And then ultimately he can get to a point where he's Colin Kaepernick. And then I'm like, yes, let's go. So I got no problem with that. I don't care where they were picked. If take these guys and develop them on the career arc that makes sense for you, that player, and the team. So if Shador's the guy that needs to play for another year while this guy gets ready to go, fine. If Shador gets extended for, obviously this is difficult with contracts and how they work in the NFL, but like he's retained for another year because he's still going, and you keep developing this guy, great. Like more quarterbacks, more better to me. This is the same thing we dealt with last year, where there's people like super mad the Browns have 4 quarterbacks. Do it correctly. I don't care. Like, you get reps.
Well, okay. Well, let me pose it to you this way now, because like this is the crux of my issue is that Shador shows a lot, but maybe, well, no. Shador has a good year. The offense is trending in the right direction, and he's improving as the year goes on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in range to get the 3rd or 4th quarterback in next year's draft, or you could get a position player of significance like a wide receiver or a D end or a corner, something like that. That's where I'm posing this is like, if you feel pretty good about Shador, you might just have to take a leap of faith and then bolster the team even more and get ready to make a push with Shador. Because if you feel good about the quarterback and then you get another young quarterback who's going to render one of those picks ineffective for at least this season, that's a tough pill for fans to swallow. That's all I'm saying.
This is the Rams. This is the Rams this past year. Matt Stafford won MVP.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's his health and his back and all these other things. He won MVP, and they drafted a quarterback. Now, for the sake of argument, let's keep Matthew Stafford, but take Ty Simpson out of it.
Okay.
Let's put, let's put Darian Mensah there. And if you're a guy who really likes Mensah, are you worried about taking Mensah as opposed to, like, in this past year was like, I don't know if this was how serious this was. They're going to take Mekhi Lemon or.
Yeah. I'd be pissed that we didn't take Mekhi Lemon. We're gearing up for a Super Bowl. I've got a Super Bowl champion quarterback already. He's the reigning MVP. Give him another weapon. You're going to give him an understudy for 2 years when he's gone? Like, I get that. I understand why they did it as an organization.
Yeah, I understand the argument, but that's why the Rams played the game that they played, is they're thinking we're trying to sustain this for long term. Now, ultimately, I think how you evaluate that entirely comes down to how do you feel about Ty Simpson. I didn't love Ty Simpson, so I'm sort of on it, but I get the thought process. I get why they felt.
I do too, but you see the difference in a 40-year-old bad back Matt Stafford versus a 24-year-old Shador Sanders trending in the right direction. Like it's a different argument because Shador Sanders, it's not like there's a shelf life there that in a couple of years you're going to need to think about it.
It's a obviously with Matthew Stafford, is his back going to hold out or whatever? Is health going to hold out? Whereas it's with Shador, maybe he's trending in the right direction, but where he's at in trending in the right direction isn't enough. Yeah. So then to decide, do I think it's going to get better enough that he's going to get into that top 12 range or even top 16 range, or is he's going to basically be sort of a top 18 to 20 guy, and you're going to sit there and go, well, we've got this guy, and we're sitting there hoping to get somebody else and replace him. So that's where I sit there and look at the situation as being comparable.
Yeah, and Phil just basically nailed what we're both thinking. But the conversation, though, comes back to pretty much what happened in the offseason of 2022, Pete. Like, this is a thing where we had a young quarterback that had done really good things, was trending in the right direction, but we tried to cap it. We tried to do better. We tried to get better, and we did in a far more expensive move than a draft pick, but also what should have been a way more proven move than a draft pick. Right. So it would be interesting to see if they were posed to that same situation, how they would act and what they would do.
Well, I mean, the whole thing gets easier when you nail all your other picks. So that's the part where, if you are a poor drafting team, which the Browns have been largely for the past 25 years, but you might be sitting there going, well, look what they've done the last 2 years. And you go, yeah, I might want that quarterback because I feel pretty good about the track record of this regime on using these other picks and making the most of them. That's certainly a factor in that, or free agency, or how you're going to play it. Obviously, I'm going to be sitting here. So to me, if Shador is pretty okay, like trending in the right direction to your point, I'm going to be sitting there going, is it a quarterback or am I taking a pass rusher? That's going to be the quandary for me.
Yeah.
And it's just impossible for me not to take the quarterback, even though I am greedy and want as much pass rush as humanly possible. I will take that
No,
kid
of
out
course.
right now.
Well, and that's the whole thing though, is whoever does win the job is ultimately going to be in the best position possible to prevent the Browns from getting a quarterback early, because Shador knows the job. You just got to win. You got to win enough to make your job as safe as possible.
That's why he has the job now, or why he's in a position to potentially win the job now, is because they won the last 2 games. That is the difference between Shador having a shot to win this job and Fernando Mendoza being the quarterback of this football team.
How interesting this offseason would have gone had they lost those last 2 games and had the number 1 pick. It would have been fascinating. The coaching options, because I think ultimately they would have moved off Stefanski, no? Or do you think if he would have got...
The answer is probably, because if Jimmy has some setting win, again, I know he's setting the record. I think ultimately he was just sick of looking at Kevin Stefanski's face, which is not my position, but I just think that's ultimately, as much as he can't say that, I think that's the reality of the situation. I'm tired of looking at your face. Get out. Now, what do I think would have happened? I think they would have paid more money to potentially a contract we don't love out of the dude from Green Bay to play left tackle, and then basically done everything else the same way, save for Fernando Mendoza, as opposed to getting Spencer Fano plus pick that becomes Austin Barber.
Yeah.
Or was it, or whatever, however that worked out. But regardless, I think it would have ultimately been just traded of, you would have gotten that left tackle, Mendoza, and then largely tried to play it the same way, however that was going to work out. I mean, again, as much as it would have been great to get Mendoza, I really do like the situation that the Browns have built themselves, so long as obviously it's all dependent on how these guys do. Obviously, I love Fano, Concepcion, and Boston. Like, I'm genuinely excited about those guys, so I hope this works out so that we can get to that point in 2027. And obviously, it's good. We're sort of at the mercy of the draft and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But hopefully, we're talking about, man, this is a great setup for a rookie quarterback to come in and take off.
That's, I think, the craziest part of this whole thing is that as much of it is a challenge, right? To target a quarterback, find a quarterback, all that stuff. There's always top prospects. They rarely work out. Whether you think it's a team failure or prospect failure, that's a different conversation.
Usually the team.
The craziest thing is you need so many stars to align. Not only do you need to be bad in the right year, and you need guys to be there. It's not just, are they going to fall to your pick? Are they even going to be in the draft pool? It's so hard to find a guy, and you have to get lucky. As much of it comes down to skill.
Well, I think ultimately, so long as you're correctly team building, the product largely takes care of itself. However, the situation you get scared of, and I don't think the Browns are there, but I know fans will think they're there, is becoming the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you are this many years from Ben Roethlisberger, where you're trying to figure it out every year, and you're in this weird purgatory because they are making the playoffs, but not happy with what they are and not being able to get I don't worry about this for the Browns because I don't think they're a playoff team, and I think they're going to be in a position to get a quarterback, and you're going to sit there and go, man, I want the best quarterback in the draft, but to me, so much of this is, can you put him in the right situation? And I'm not a Bo Nix guy, but man, his situation's really good for him in Denver.
Yep.
And that's so much of this is being in the right situation, or
agreed.
Going to Green Bay where there's no owner to sort of meddle in the quarterback development, and that has worked out really, really well for them. So get the right situation. Now, there are times where it simply doesn't work. Kenny Pickett was put into a good situation and just couldn't do it.
Well, Pete, that's the whole reason I'm bringing this up, though, in terms of stars aligning. Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback taken in 2022.
Yes.
Imagine having the number 2 pick in 2022 versus 2024. You want Kenny Pickett at the end of the first round. You want Jaden Daniels, Drake May at 3rd. It's just so much of it just comes down to luck. The guy has to be there before you can pick him. You know what I'm saying? It's very tough.
Yes. So rightly or wrongly, I'm putting faith in this draft or next year's draft is going to align that the Browns are going to get their guy, they have the opportunity to get the guy they need. They've obviously got to identify it, they got to pick him, but I think within either 2027 or 2028, they're going to have the opportunity to get their guy. Now they've got to do it.
All right. Well, I mean, we're talking about quarterbacks right now, but let's shift to some defensive prospects that are going to be available in next year's draft. We've talked about a few of these guys, but we haven't really dug too deep into it. So I focused on three positions because those are like the three biggest defensive needs for the Browns, in my opinion. Let's start with corner, and let's start with Leonard Moore in Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's basically a demigod. Whatever you say about Jeremiah Smith, Leonard Floyd is like a half tick below him at corner.
Really?
He is unbelievable. And for what the Browns want to do, he's everything they could possibly dream of. And it's the only reason you take a corner that high is playing a scheme like the Browns do. It's not to say that a zone corner who's a demon isn't useful. It's just for a team that wants to play a ton of man coverage. He's phenomenal. He's big. He's strong. He's fast. He's prototypical in so many ways. His production is very good. Obviously, he's got big game matchups where he's been tremendous, and they may have the best defense in the country this year. He's a huge part of that.
Yeah.
He's going to matchups. Obviously, Miami's going to be the big one for them. Yeah, I mean, he is tremendous, and this is a weird year where obviously it's going to depend where teams pick, but like Leonard Floyd could be like 7th or 8th pick and basically be the second best player in the draft.
Yeah, if enough quarterbacks come out, and then you got the other top prospects. Who's it? Goolsby, right? The left tackle for Texas.
Yes, would have been an interesting conversation with Spencer Fano. Again, obviously, I'm thrilled with Fano, but Goolsby is really good. He's outstanding.
Okay.
And there's a belief that Goolsby is the reason that Monroe Freeling ultimately declared. Because if Goolsby declared, he potentially was going to be the first tackle taken, Fano would have moved down, and then everybody would have bumped out. And we already saw where Freeling went.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Are you bummed up on some of the other corners? Like, how about Ellis Robinson for UGA, so Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia's corners are tough. Like, he's fine. I need to see more of him in terms of what he can offer. But my big concern right off the rip is he's got almost nothing in terms of tackle production. So, like, he was pretty good in pass breakups, not great. So a lot of this is projecting to him having a big season, which he may well have, but he hasn't had it yet. And that's partly because my dude, Dalen Everett, was there and was that guy. So basically with Ellis Robinson, I understand why he's going to be I think redshirt sophomore. It's the only way to be eligible. So you are counting on him for taking a big step up. Now, he does have a whole lot of picks for that position. So he's literally got 1 year starting experience. 4 picks, 13 solo tackles, which isn't great. 7 pass breakups, which is relative to them is fine. So you are expecting this to be the year where he becomes that dude. Now, the interceptions are outstanding, but it's the rest of the stuff where because last year it was Dalen Everett. He was the dude. So now it's Ellis Robinson's got to step up and be that guy.
Okay. And then the last one I've got here is Zabian Brown from Alabama. You got anything on him?
Really? That's where you're going?
That's where I was led, sir.
So he's another one where he's going to be a junior. He's done some good things. A lot of this is
just projecting a big season from him. Yeah.
But so like the guy where I sit here and go, I could see this dude being like going from a very, very good season to like crazy otherworldly season, or like was really really good, and then he's going to be a true junior, I believe. And it would absolutely be in the Browns' wheelhouse. Is Kelly Jones from Mississippi State, who
Okay.
is listed 6'4",
Oh,
had 11 pass breakups, 2 picks, and like he's right in the wheelhouse because he can play press, but he's fast enough that like he could just eliminate vertical passes. So
okay.
like, if you get a chance to watch him, you'll be like, oh my God, he's really intriguing because guys like that are normally receivers. So that's where I'm hoping a lot of these guys, depending on how this thing shakes out, where like a lot of these guys play well. But unfortunately, I could easily see Kelly Jones with a good year and that frame going like 15 to 20,
Yeah.
unless the Rams really screw this thing up.
Huh.
There's that range, but like that would be the
Yeah.
guy where you sit there and go, please find a way to make your way to the Rams pick.
Okay. All right, let's jump over to some of these edge rushers now. Let's start with Colin Simmons in Texas.
Yeah, he's a stud. So like,
Who would you liken him to in terms of like just like body type, playing style? Who in the NFL reminds you of him?
I don't know that I have necessarily comp.
Okay.
My comp is basically comparing him against Dylan Stewart.
Okay.
Because the conversation, those are the two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Simmons and Dylan Stewart.
Yeah,
and
Stewart's next on my list, so go ahead.
If you are traits guy, you are sitting there going, I want Dylan Stewart because he's a freak show. But if you're sitting there going, yeah, well, Colin Simmons is a really good athlete. Maybe he's not as freaky as Dylan Simmons, but he's done it. Like he's proven himself. 12 sacks this past year, 15 and a half tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles. Like all the things you sit there and go, check, check, check. Like he does all those things. Whereas
I'm getting Derek Barnett over Myles Garrett vibes here, Pete. I don't like it.
Well, Myles Garrett produced. Now let's go over to Dylan Stewart, because you sit there and you go, oh my God, look at the bend, look at the freakiness, look at all this stuff. 4.5 sacks last year.
Yeah.
12 tackles for loss. 12 tackles for loss. The solo tackles aren't great for him either. So you're sitting there going, he did have 3 forced fumbles, which is good. Can he, to this point, he's shown these flashes of being an unbelievable player, but can he be the dominant pass rusher? 4.5 sacks on a team that's only had 21.
Yeah.
It's not being the guy you sit there and go, that's a franchise pass rusher. He was second on his own team. Brian Thomas Jr. had 7 for South Carolina last year. So this is the thing. Colin Simmons has done it and presumably will do it again for Texas on a very, very good team. Dylan Stewart needs to become the guy who comes out and gets like, but let's say for the sake of argument, he comes out and goes 15 sacks and does all this stuff. Now all of a sudden you may put yourself into this, but that's the problem. Is Dylan Stewart is a very incomplete player with freaky tools that you can talk yourself into, and I like things I can prove as opposed to trying to do it. Now again, would it surprise me if, just knowing how he operates, if somebody like Dan Brugler, who's a big traits guy, comes out and goes, Dylan Stewart's my number 1 edge? Would not. And I think that's the conversation people are having. Those are the two guys.
But if it's your call right now, they're both on the draft board, you're taking Colin Simmons.
Colin Simmons, I'm taking it. He's really good. He's fast. He's polished. He does so many things really, really well. And I'm not Dylan Stewart also is a little bit more prototypical in length, at least listed. Colin Simmons is listed 6'3", 240, which, given what Rutenberg wants to do, I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
But you can talk yourself into, well, Dylan Stewart's listed 6'5", 245. You'd like him to add a little more weight to that frame. Yeah. But like, again, given what Rutenberg wants to do, I don't think he cares, because like R. Mason Thomas was basically
it's like 230.
Well, he's basically the same as Colin Simmons. Like, I think he's perfectly fine with that. So I don't know. Would it not surprise if Colin Simmons is just a dude, and it will become like sort of like a Brian Arakpo type player, even though Arakpo is much bigger and way more injured.
Okay. How about last guy for DNs on my list? I've got Sammy Brown out of Clemson.
Okay, so let's start with the bigger conversation. Clemson doesn't develop anyone. This is a huge problem for me. Does not develop anyone on defense.
It's fair.
they've got guys who
The
are
time's going to tell on Barrett Carter.
they've got all the, and it's really become both sides of the ball now, where they've got super talented guys, and none of them get any better.
Yeah.
So you've got all these big time players, and Sammy Brown is, like a linebacker sized guy, so he's more of that stand up edge. Had a pretty good season. Pass breakups were like, he did a nice combo deal where he could do a little bit of dropping, which again I could see Rutenberg absolutely loving, but like it's just right, like, stop going to Clemson, stop going there, because you're not getting coached, and like you will go up and down the board of God.
How long does Dabo keep his job, Pete? Because like I feel like they've been on a steady decline. Steady.
I think he should have been fired already.
Yeah, but that contract's got to be funky.
But like, you will go through. Like, what did you think of Antonio? What did you think of Antonio Williams last year?
Well, the wide receiver.
Yeah,
I liked him coming out, but like,
yes, he should have been a third or fourth receiver. Now they had injuries.
Yeah,
but that's how much talent that team has.
Yeah,
and you're going, just didn't play. Now Bryant Wesco got hurt. That some other guys deal with some other issues, but like, you sit there and you look at this talent on the team and you're going, why aren't you good? And it's irritating. Like, it's a lot. Like, take Ryan Williams at Alabama and expand it to everybody on the entire team at Clemson. It's like right now. It's so frustrating. It should be like, Cade Klubnik was a guy, stylistically, he's right up my alley. And obviously went in round 4, but you're like, look at this team. You go, how are you guys not good? And they were awful.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to let's move over to defensive tackle. How about can you tell me anything about David Stone out of Oklahoma?
Yeah, he's a stud. Like, he's going to be a big time player. He is another guy. Again,
big,
projecting him forward. He hasn't had a ton of production yet.
Yeah.
Listed 6'3", 310. He's going to be a true junior, so this is the year he should flash. And he had a decent number of tackles for loss, but like, the projection is that front is going to be a nightmare with those guys, because they've also, our Mason Thomas is gone. They've had a couple other guys leave, just graduation or whatever. The David Stone and the other dude next to him, who's also good but not quite that good, are going to just dominate up at that position. So it's another one where the tools are incredible. Can he put together? Can he be that dude that's going to, because there's a belief that, like, again, the quarterbacks and receivers are going to push some guys down, but like, defensive tackle is expected to be very good. Yeah, Grayson Holton was one of the guys that was on Oklahoma last year. He's in the NFL. So yeah, they've got a bunch of guys, but yes, David Stone, based on tools and all this stuff, is supposed to be that guy.
All right. Now I've got a duo at Oregon. I've got Bear Alexander and Amari Washington.
Yeah. So one of those guys matters, and his name's Amari Washington. The problem with
Bear Alexander not, is that just doesn't matter for us, or just isn't that good?
He started his career in 2022 at Georgia, then 2023 USC, 2024 at USC, 2025 Oregon. Still has not been good.
Well, good. He's young.
He's still not figuring it out in the way. Why? Because I think he was a 4 or 5 star guy. Like, he was supposed to be this big time guy. That's why he was at Georgia. That's why he went to USC. And it has not clicked for him. Whereas Amari Washington is really good and a little bit more still, again, as a 6'3", 330-pound man, his tackle production is not great. He had 8 pass breakups last year. 8.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
So yes. And he, for a big man, he can move reasonably well. So
you said 6'6", 330?
6'3", 330 is listed.
6'3", 330.
So this is the problem. Do you want that guy? Do you want that big hulking potential nose? Maybe. Obviously, depends on how well he moves and all these other things.
Yeah.
But he has not, and maybe that will change. He has not been a pass rusher, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's not that he can't do it, but he hasn't been in terms of production. He projects more of a nose. So could he be that guy? Do you want a Tyleek? Do you want a other dude who was drafted out of Ohio State this past year? Or do you want more athletic guys that can move up and down the line? Like
Yeah. Caden McDonald.
Mason Graham is going to effectively play both nose and the three.
Yeah.
And Cliff Davis is going to play nose. So do you care? Again, obviously, he hasn't played on all these other things. This may round into something you're like, yes, I want this guy. He's going to be a huge problem and create a big issue for the defense. But you may sit there and go, nah, the amount of stunning they do, all the stuff, the movement, everything. I want another somebody could hold up, certainly at the point of attack, but I might want somebody who's a little bit quicker, who can do those other things more effectively.
Okay.
Which is where you get into,
sorry.
Which is where you get into like, you get into like the Texas Tech realm where they're supposed to have some guys that are because they graduated so many dudes.
Yeah.
Where there are people who believe that like the guys that are coming in because they just got into the portal again and grabbed all these dudes, including a dude from Akron, which I'm super bitter about. That they're just going to reload and do it that way. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the last name on my list. I've got Will Eccles out of Ole Miss.
Yeah, for some people, there are some people who believe in him as the top guy. He's had more pass rushing success. That's what, not to say he didn't play the run, but that's what he was tasked with doing at Ole Miss. 5 sacks last year on a team that had, to give you some context, they had Prince Wall, Amunmielen, who's not since transferred to LSU.
Mm-hmm.
They also had Xavier Harris, who was 6'8", 330 or whatever, nose. So yes, Will Eccles was tied for second on the team with sacks with 5, 11 and a half tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups, like does all this stuff, 6'3", 3. Like again, this is sort of in the mold where you sit there and go, yeah, he has my attention and he's athletic. Like you can watch him and you're like, he can do some stuff. Can he keep it going? Can he take it to the next level? Ole Miss is really well set up. They're going to be in a bunch of big games. He's going to have to be that guy. Ton of tackles for a defensive tackle. Let me see where we're at here. So, like, relatively speaking, for a defensive tackle, he had a ton of solo tackles, which is not usual for a defensive tackle. 32 out of a team 517 solo tackles. That's a lot for a defensive tackle. So so for me, again, when I'm looking at this stuff and I sit here and go, yeah, the athleticism is great, but in terms of like concrete production, he's got more than a lot of these guys.
Okay. And as how would you personally? Now, I think we both agreed that we would go pass rusher first, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you? How would you rank those positions of need for the Browns entering? As of right now, like going into next year, what is the most important of those 3 issues?
To me, it goes edge, corner, D tackle, but like there's not much separation between edge and D tackle. Like
so obviously, it's almost like whoever's higher on your board.
Some of this depends because Malik Collins is on the last year of his deal. Mm-hmm. Does Malik Collins want to keep playing here? He may not. He's 31. He may want to jump to a contender. Obviously, it depends how they play. Maybe he likes Mike Rutenberg, maybe he doesn't. And meanwhile, the Browns may sit there and go, he may not fit where our schedule is. I suspect it would be more Malik Collins not wanting to keep this thing going than the Browns, but nevertheless, that's a big question. So that's one thing that's sort of hanging out there. Is Mike Hall Jr. going to be the dude you need him to be? Because if he's not, that shoots up in terms of what you need. And obviously free agency could be impacted by that. And then the other part about this, Clea Davis is on 1-year deal. So what are you doing with that? Now, I assume it's the Browns and Rutenberg's still here, that if he plays well, stays healthy, they're going to want to keep him. But you put yourself in this weird position because you're on a 1-year deal where he's on a 1-year deal, Malik Collins is a 1-year deal, and Mike Hall's got to be that guy where you could easily find yourself in a position where it's Mason Graham and we've got to find more guys.
Yeah. Well, look, you look what Andrew Berry's done in the last few years. And I can tell you right now, we're going to take 2 corners next year. We're going to take 2 defensive tackles next year, and that'll fill those holes. You know.
Well, I mean, it's early. I think defensive line is going to end up being stronger than corner in this class, but we shall see.
Yeah.
And obviously it depends if they decide to extend Denzel Ward. It sort of answers the question, even though I think they will still want to get somebody to put in the pipeline, but it may not feel like a first round need, and they may want to try to do it like the third round to get somebody to sort of plug in there and sort of develop, or 2 guys to your point, a third rounder and a fifth rounder or something like that, and try to do it that way, using hopefully premium picks to get an edge rusher. I cannot overstate how much they need an edge rusher. Like, I like Isaiah McGuire. I don't know if he's going to be here next year or not. I like him. I like Alex Wright. I like Jared Verse. They all do something very similar in terms of rushing the passer. They all go through guys. They need somebody who can get a quick win, and basically what R. Mason Thomas did, which is why I think the Browns were interested in him, because he could win immediately and just blow up a play. They need somebody who can do that on this front to get what they want. And Mike Rutenberg, when he was with Atlanta, they got it.
2 of them. Yeah.
James Pierce was 10 sacks as a rookie, and then before that, when he was with the Jets, they had Will McDonald who could do that. Based on what he was looking at in the draft in terms of who the Browns were interested in, I think he wants that element. I think he really, really, really likes having the guys that he has. And I'm hoping I'm hoping Isaiah McGuire plays well enough that he is also extended and they just keep all those 3 guys.
Yeah.
But they need that guy who can just come in because then you don't have to, if those guys
got 3 guys collapse in the pocket, you want somebody to push the quarterback up.
Well, not only that, but you don't need that guy to necessarily be an every down player. So it opens up how you think about the position, that you can go, I can get a specialist. I can get, all he does is win. And you can sit there and go, man, I hate how this guy plays the run. And then you can sit there and go, oh, he's almost never in there when they're actually running the football. But because they have those big guys in there, and they run effectively, and hopefully, God willing, I'm old enough to live to see the Browns play with leads. That they can then unload the pass rush and do all the stunts and all the other stuff that they want to do. That speed guy now becomes just a monster, and you can sit there and people are going to argue and go, he had 12 sacks or whatever. He's not really one of the best pass rushers in the league because of this. And you're going to sit there and you're going to say, I don't care. I'll take the 12 sacks.
Yep, all day long.
Yeah,
all day long. How about so the couple contract extensions today? Jordan Brooks in Miami made just under $18 million a year, 3 years for $51 million. And look, this is I liked him at Texas Tech. He was good for Seattle. He's been good in Miami, but an off-ball linebacker who's not a true difference maker, that's a lot of money.
Well, my assumption is that they paid him now because they can, and then when it opens up that they can use it elsewhere.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the structure of it because obviously they got all that dead money, but I assume it's largely going to be set up in a way that allows them to spend more money later and just be like, this is done. We can come back and address these other things. But we need to have this locked down. He was good for him.
Yeah. He's been really good for them.
I'm not a big proponent for off-ball linebacker, but that's literally all they have. So there you go.
How about Devontae Wyatt in Green Bay? Got a 3-year, $60 million expansion.
He's not good.
Yeah.
Average. He's very average. But
I remember he was like a 25-year-old rookie or something. He was old.
Overage D tackle, yeah. He is this, and this is why you let the left tackle go in free agency, and you had this money, and I think the Packers have something like only 2 starters between both sides of the ball who are not under a multiple year contract, and this is just how the Packers work.
Yeah.
They take care of their own guys. They don't spend a bunch on outside free agents. So they have the ability to do this. Is Devontae Wyatt at any level somebody I look at as a $60 or $20 million player? No, not to me. Now, he may be trending in a direction where they feel like he's going to continue. That's a position where you can do that.
Yeah.
at 28, 29, 30 can get better and better and better, and maybe they're happy with that. I mean, they, I don't know that they're sort of necessarily past getting rid of Kenny Clark in terms of that position, but like I think this is their attempt to answer it. Again, too rich for me, but because the Packers do their books, they can do this and be fine. But they've got a bunch of these guys where you sit there and go, I don't know if he's really that good.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. I saw an interesting article. I think it was Bucky Brooks. It was an all breakout team on defense. And they had your boy Abdul Carter on there. I thought that was cool. I'm trying to go over this list because I saw one. Okay. So he's got Mike Green on here for Baltimore. And I was high on Mike Green going into the draft last year, but we've talked about it. He was not good last year.
Nope. Now the Ravens are sitting there going, please, we need but because they do. I mean, but I think this is more of a gut feeling thing than necessarily anything you can go off of. And maybe they're right. I mean, he was telling, I mean, if not for the off-field stuff, there was talk that he was going to go top 10, top 12 in the draft. He goes in the second round. And even as a second-round pick, he was wildly disappointing for sure. So I think I think in that situation, Bucky Brooks in this case is leaning on his evaluation of him and saying he's going to figure it out and break out. As far as I'm concerned, Abdul Carter already did.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite part about this list, Pete, is that Carson Schwarzenegger's not on there.
Already did.
No, because he already hit, baby.
Yeah, I mean, again, the NFL or the ESPN did their rankings and him 3.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
3, which unexpected that he was rated that high. Unexpected the Browns had somebody rated that high that's not named Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched him. There's nothing he seemingly cannot do.
No.
Well, I get it. And I said at the time, like, I know Jack Campbell got like first team all pro, but I think Carson Schwarzenegger is way ahead of him where he is as a player. I think Carson Schwarzenegger can ultimately do more than Jack Campbell can. So I understand, but those are big shoes to fill. Now, having watched him in practice and OTAs and stuff, just a beast. Like, he practices like a guy who's going to be just an absolute stud. He's so fast. He has really good practice habits in terms of finishing plays and making sure he's taking care of details and all this other stuff. Just does so much stuff. And I could see a world where, because of the way the Browns are going to run their defense, I could see him have big numbers in terms of sacks this year. Yeah. Because they need to make up for not having certain things. And I could totally see Carson Schwarzenegger. He had, 3 sacks last year. I could easily see
a phenomenal blitzer.
He's
got great timing. Yeah.
I could see him easily just by virtue of how the Browns, I think, are going to use him. I could easily see him get to 6 sacks. And if he can, he's obviously, he got a couple picks this past year. If he can get to that like 3 or something like that, he continues just being a sideline to sideline force and all that stuff. Gets a defensive touchdown somewhere along the road. Like, I could see him getting all pro.
Yeah.
And I guess Albert Breer claimed he voted for him second team all pro. I don't know if he did or not, but I mean, why would he make that up? But nevertheless, that's how highly some people thought of him. And like I said, I get it. I'm surprised. Clearly going to be the captain of the defense. And so long as the defensive line in front of him doesn't falter, he's just going to be kept clean and just do everything.
Yeah. Well, going back to this list now, because it's funny, because like it's surprising that he's third, right? Just because it's so early, second year, all that stuff. Pete, looking at this top 5 list, I don't think it's going to be very long before he's number 2, if not number 1. Number 1 is Fred Warner. What's that?
Of course, it's all old guys at the top.
Well, it's Fred Warner's number 1. Roquan Smith is number 2.
That's crap.
And then you've got Carson Schwarzenegger. Behind him, you've got Zach Bond and then Jack Campbell. Like,
Roquan Smith wouldn't have voted Roquan Smith number 2.
Yep. But you know how this stuff works. Like, who knows how valid ESPN's general manager or, whatever front office exec they talk to, Who knows how accurate that is?
The only time Roquan Smith looked like a top 10 linebacker last year was against Joe Flacco, when Joe Flacco was basically throwing the ball to him. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looks slow. He's awful. So yes, there's a path for him. Fred Warner's fantastic, and then
Fred Warner's incredible. Yeah.
There's a lot of good linebackers, but most of the top guys are basically at retirement.
Yeah. Yep. Alrighty. So let's see here. So with camp coming up, what is your schedule with camp, Pete? How often are you going to be there?
I don't know yet.
You don't know any? Well, I mean, you're definitely going to be there, right?
To be determined. I'm still waiting to find out one or the other.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, let's go over.
That's the plan.
I would like to pick your brain for some of this stuff. I mean, because we've been talking about it, but what are you personally looking forward to with this rookie section of training camp before the vets come in? Like, is there anything specific you want to see? Did you see enough of them in the mini camp to gauge any sort of progress they've made or anything like that?
The rookie part of the training camp stuff is, I assume, a lot of them getting acclimated to like taking care of some stuff, like making sure they're moved into wherever they're going to live now that they've had a chance to actually move. Doing all the like financial crap. What I mean by that is like doing some of these classes and stuff to like how to take care of your money and stuff, which is smart. Yeah. I assume it's going to be a big part of it before they bring in the veterans, and then just getting them accustomed to all this stuff. So like the actual rookie part, I mean, there's not that many guys. So like they'll work, they'll do stuff, and they'll get acclimated to what they need to do, but it's not like you're going to get a full off exciting thing. Now, having said that, you will have Taylor Green, you will have receivers and tight ends that can all catch the ball. So yes, that part is good. Now, based off what I've seen in rookie camp, Denzel Boston looks tremendous. Has done everything that they've asked him to do and more. Did things I wasn't sure he could do coming out of college.
Agreed, Phil. Cannot wait.
Concepcion obviously has done really well, but I think the special element is going to happen when they get into contact. Now, how much of that is he going to get from the Browns? I don't know, but whether it's joint practices or ultimately not until the preseason, that is when I expect that stuff's going to really show up, that he can do all this stuff. Likewise, I'm not a Joe Royer guy, but the Browns are. So can he find himself a niche to fill into? And then I'm a big Carson Ryan guy, so I am curious to see what all he can do, because I think he can be sort of, I don't know if he can handle the rigors of fullback, but he can do all the other stuff that like functions as a running back but catch the ball like a tight end, which is really, really useful.
Here's a good question, Pete. What do you think about Dom Jones' situation with the Damari Mathis signing? Because Dom Jones is another one of those tall guys. Is Mathis essentially going to slide him off the roster?
He is off the roster. They waived him for Damari Mathis because Dom Jones was waived with a failed physical. I don't know what injury he was ever dealing with. They obviously never disclosed it.
Was that today? I didn't see that.
That was the move. They signed Damari Mathis, waived Dom Jones, injury designation. He never practiced the entire OTA, so any of them, or minicamp. So I don't know if his injury, it's the same one, it's a new one. You get no info, so So I could see a world where Dom Jones eventually gets healthy enough, and they bring him back in some capacity. But for the moment, he's not ready to go. Mathis is. They're getting ready to go. So that's the deal.
Okay. Now, one of the things I'm most looking forward to is just a little more clarity on the offensive line, right? Mostly just center and right guard. Like everything is settled. We just don't know where Jenkins is going to line up and who that fifth guy is going to be. Now, I think like perfect world, right? Parker Brailsford is going to prove to be worthy of it and physically ready. And then Elton Jenkins is a better fit at right guard. So, like, best case scenario would probably be that, no?
Flate. I mean, that's Parker. Like obviously, the question is, was Parker Brailsford able to add a little weight?
Mhm.
Is he physically at a spot where they're comfortable with him, and then can he handle the rigors? We're gonna find out real fast and fast.
Yeah.
But smart. He's athletic. He does a lot of things that they like. It's just a question: can he keep it going and
Can he hold
handle?
up?
Because we went through the schedule and like yes, they're going to move him around. They're going to do all this other stuff and try to get some of these big boys out of their comfort zone. But it seems like every week there's somebody who's 330, 340 who's going to
Yep.
line up right over the center.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean that's been my issue for a while. I wanted a heavy hitter at center, but like that's the thing that I've you know kind of grown to understand is that despite the at least for the position the diminutive stature. I mean what 6'2", 289 is what he was listed at as a prospect.
if that, if
Yeah,
that, yeah, I mean, that's
it might have
the
been 280. He was. I mean he was not big. Yeah.
no. So, I mean, that's the question. Can they get to a weight that he's comfortable, that he's confident in what he's able to do, that doesn't take away any of what they need him to be able to do, which is mobility portion. Then can he handle? And I don't think this is going to be an issue because he seems really bright, but ultimately, can he manage the line? Can he make the
Yeah.
calls? Can
Handle the
guys
calls. Yeah.
obviously like that's the part we don't talk about in terms of much, but that's obviously a huge element of this is that you're going to see changing defenses more than even in college. Can you make sure the guys are in the right spot? Can you handle that? Can you take care of those calls?
Yeah. And then Emmanuel McNeil Warren in the back end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're assuming they're going to move him around a little bit, but do you think he's going to push for a starting job? Do you think they're just going to make him kind of a rotational player and all that? I mean, look, Ronnie Hickman he's a good ball player, and Grant Delpit is one of the better safeties in the NFL. So he doesn't have a super easy path to a starting lineup.
Well, the Browns seem to want to play three safeties, which
Yeah,
based on what they think, he would be the third guy. Uh, Missed a lot of OTAs with something. Again, no clarity on that. So hopefully he's ready to go when they get to camp. And then it's gonna be a question. When they were originally asked about it, they said they wanted him to focus on one spot and then they'd figure out moving him around. Now, what is that one spot is sort of the question. Don't
yeah,
know. Uh, in terms of their deep safeties, they play them left and right, split safeties. And
yeah.
how do they want to call the nickel and all that, and whether he's going to be that guy maybe, or is it going to be a situation where it basically depends on how they call it. Those are all questions to be answered. And by virtue of the fact that he wasn't on the field and Grant Delpit wasn't on the field, you have a lot of questions to be answered because I could see a world where Grant Delpit's a slot. So you could do a whole lot of fun things from there. Um, and you put McNeil Warren and Hickman in the back. But they might, if you get in a situation where you have to roll your safeties, now Delpit ends up in the back. E-Man's now up in the slot. So, yeah, so they need him to be ready to go. They need him to be ready in terms of understanding his role, and then when they get on the field, excelling, being able to participate, and then just growing into that role because that clearly that's the design of this thing. They want all three guys out there all as much as possible. Obviously, there's some personnel stuff they have to accommodate for in terms of how teams are playing them, but that's really where they want to be. Where they've got Denzel Ward, Tyson Campbell on the outside, and some combination of those three guys on the inside with two linebackers. That's going to be their defense.
And obviously Quincy Williams and Carson are the two linebackers. Do you
Yep.
think because Quincy's on a 1-year deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or did we sign him to a 2-year deal? Was it 2 years, 10 mil, or was it a 1-year deal for Quincy?
Let's see. It might be. Let's see. Contract is 2 years, 13. But let's see. No, it's pretty well. He's gonna be here for both years.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay. And then so of the other crew around there, I mean obviously Justin Jefferson was the draft pick. and then Watson got hurt a year ago, but he was coming on in training camp, so it's going to be interesting to see how he plays this camp, if he picks up where he left off, or if there's rust he's got to shake off, or any of that stuff. I like Winston Reed. And then what's Easton Mascarenas Arnold, right?
Mascarenas Arnold, yeah. So look, I mean, Buki Watson's a guy who's been waiting for pads to come on. That's where he's going to do his best, because and Winston Reed, those are both guys that they have flashed because they were physical and showed some power. For Justin Jefferson, obviously he's got to carve out a role. It's a question of what is he, and it may be a very specialized niche role where he could be a spy / weapon type thing. In addition to playing specials, I don't expect it be much more than that, but we shall see if he can sort of grow beyond that. But if you can find him a nice role in your defense beyond, and he's good at specials, you're going to be thrilled with that. Now he's got to get there, and then the rest. Again, right now, I would think if you're going to have Sam backer, it's going to be Buki Watson, and then it's who's going to make between the depth of who can do the job behind them, and who can contribute on special teams. It's going to be a combination of factors that matters.
Yeah. Okay. And then wide receivers now. We talk about wide receivers all the time, but are you at this point expecting Tylan Wallace to make the team, or is Concepcion's ability to, in the return game, going to kind of push him out?
Tylan Wallace can play other spots on specials, which is one of the many reasons I think he's going to end up making the team.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the guys who are receivers can only return, Tylan Wallace can do the other stuff, which makes him valuable. He can play all the spots, all the receiver spots in the offense, and has been a benefit to the locker room. So I think right now, unless somebody's going to emerge and really, really showcase something that we haven't seen, I think he's going to be at no worse than wide receiver 5.
Okay. All right. Well, honestly, Pete, tell me what you think about LeBron. Where's LeBron going to end up, dude? This is where we're at now. It's down to the big 4.
I haven't changed anything. I still every minute that he waits, I'm at the point where any waiting at this point makes me think it's not Cleveland. And I've said all along, I thought it was Golden State. I haven't changed off that.
Yeah.
I think at this point, it's like trying to figure out how he's going to tell everybody after building this thing up.
Yeah.
Which is its own weird little animal of this thing. Philadelphia makes no sense to me because they will boo him. And if that's an important element, that you're not going there.
Yeah. If he goes to Miami, he's running point.
For what?
That's the weird thing for me. And I got to tell you, Pete, that's the only move that would piss me off, is if he goes to Miami.
Really?
That's the only one.
Golden State wouldn't piss you off?
No. He already got us a chip. Look, if LeBron wants to spend his final year or 2 years in California golfing every day and drinking wine with Steph Curry and Draymond, go for it, LeBron. I want you to be happy.
He's been there for 8 years.
But not playing. He wants to play with Curry.
No, I know.
Like that's like I at least get that. I don't think anywhere is going to give him a send off like Cleveland could, right?
Are you saying Malik Thomas is not the Steph Curry of the next generation?
First of all, I'm on board with that. Okay, Summer League be damned. Back-to-back 30 bombs has got my antenna up, buddy. That's all I'm saying.
Just chucks it and it goes in. Yeah. So my whole thing all along is, yes, Cleveland makes a whole lot of sense on the guaranteed to get all the love he claims to want. Yeah. He do the documentary he's been apparently making forever in a way that will be very good for him for a very long time. But I just don't know if he's going to relate to any of these guys and want to actually hang out with them other than playing basketball, which is kind of a problem. And that's I think people underestimate, you don't, but I think a lot of people underestimate the lifestyle element with guys that are sort of his vintage.
Ilk? Yes.
Yeah. Of his vintage in terms of age, of being able to maybe we only get to maybe we're going to be fighting for the 6th seed in the West,
Yeah.
but we're going to have a great time doing this. And then we get to the playoffs as long as everybody's healthy. Who knows?
Yep.
Now, is the competitiveness in LeBron so much that that's going to be too hard for him to do? Maybe, but that's where I sit there and go, he can go.
He's done that for 8 years in LA.
Yeah, so
After
like
that title, they've been a middling team.
he can go eat like, the best seafood and wine and all this stuff with guys he gets along with every day for a year and just sort of enjoy being this weird, like, it's weird because these guys are not old, but they're old relative to basketball. You're treating them like senior citizens, but he's obviously gonna be 42. They're all upper 30s, but they do feel like they are in this different generation to Donovan Mitchell, to Evan.
Yeah, Donovan's young, younger. He's 31, right? Harden's the only one close to him.
Yes, and that's the other question. Does he really have any? Does he want to hang out with James Harden? Do you want to hang out with James Harden? And I don't know if anybody has a good answer for that.
It depends. It depends. Like, if we're going to the strip club, hell yeah, I want to hang out with Harden. That dude's a good time. You can't tell me he's not.
Well, that's the other question. Is that where LeBron's at this point?
See, that's why I think Harden wanted to come to Cleveland, because he knows if he's in California or if he's in one of these fancy cities with the good strip clubs, he's going to get himself into trouble. He's got to go to Cleveland. It's a little slower. It's a little quiet.
If I'm not mistaken, his jersey is retired in several.
What's that?
If I'm not mistaken, his jersey has been retired in several.
Oh, I'm sure. All you got to do is make it rain a couple times. I'll put your jersey in the rafters.
So, I mean, so much. Again, if you're trying to do a documentary, that would be an interesting twist. You want every adult club across the NBA. That's your last year in the league. So that's why I continue to come back to this. Maybe the competitiveness is too much, and he just can't handle it, and he wants to go to Cleveland because he thinks that situation looks better. But I just look at it from a lifestyle standpoint and just go, he can have fun doing his thing every day and enjoying it, and then playing basketball. Like, not that it's a hobby, but he gets his sort of send off.
Yeah.
In a way that he enjoys, as opposed to that. And that's the other part. I don't know what the expectations are if he goes to Golden State. I know what they are in Cleveland. Partly because of who he is, partly because he's made them wait this long. That's the other part. Every minute he waits to announce, it feels like you're ramping up the pressure on yourself that you have to be a championship caliber team. And for some element of people, they're going to be disappointed if you don't win.
Yeah.
Like, if, let's say, you go out in the second round, it's going to be a disaster. Now, I don't think that's going to happen with him, but like, if you go out in the Eastern Conference Finals again, like, that's not going to be good. So, yeah, I still think Golden State is the one that I still think is going to be right. I'll be honest, the longer this goes, the less I care. But
well, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's more of a pride thing than anything, because like we're the only team he's got 2 stints with. That kind of separates us. That makes us a little more legitimate in my mind. If he goes to Miami twice, that's just gonna twist the knife a little more than I would like. They already have, like, they took his prime. They had the best 4 years of LeBron. He was up. Yeah. You want to talk about a demigod? It was like 7 out of the 10 Sports Center top 10s every night. And that, Pete, I don't know if you know this, that was the year I moved from Cleveland to Miami.
Yeah.
I had to deal with every idiot. Well, oh, what's the heat index today? I wanted to fight on a daily basis, brother. Let me tell you. It was not a good time for me emotionally.
Yeah, he's the one where I sit there and go, I don't see it making any sense. But stranger things.
None.
Same with Philly. Like, they will legitimately boo him at some point.
Yeah. Well, and it's Philly. Like, God, no. And that's I feel like LeBron is redundant in Philly. Like, where's he going to play?
Well, I mean, just
4?
Maybe, or he plays 3 and Jaylen Brown shifts, but they got Maxey too. Yeah, I mean, it might be a 4 that he maybe a little bit too not really looking to play anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to get down low and start banging like that. He wants to enjoy his wine and relax. He's
Yeah.
not looking
So
to clock in every night.
again, here again,
Well,
and that's
and that's I think that's the argument for Cleveland, right? Is that it's such a clear path. Like just move Max Strus out of the starting lineup, and you're good. Like that's basically it's all set. Besides that,
yeah, and like you set yourself in a situation where hopefully, I mean, Donovan Mitchell has proven he can go off for 30 and carry you that night, and hopefully Evan Mobley will take another step and he
Yep.
can do that as well. And then LeBron can sort of every so often have a big game, but he can sort of pace himself and sort of be like, he can sort of gear down as he sees fit and go, those guys have got it. I can sort of autopilot this a little bit.
So I want to ask your opinion on this because I'm an Evan Mobley guy. If I were going to choose one or the other, I would choose Mobley over Donovan.
Easily.
I think what's that?
Easily. It's not even close.
That's where I'm at, right? And you've got this kid ever since he's been in the league. I think as a rookie, he averaged like 11 shots a game, and then it's been steady, like 12, 12, 12, 12. I feel like just having so many ball dominant guys just kind of hinders it. I feel like he could be so good.
But the thing, it just to me, as a basketball idiot, I just look at it pretty simple. You got to be able to play defense, and Evan Mobley goes off on offense. Great. But the problem is Donovan has to go off on offense because he's never going to be a great defender. He just never do it. And when you get in the playoffs, it kills you. Whereas Mobley can still be a great player, even if he chips in 7 points. And yeah, you can sit there and go, man, I wish Evan Mobley had more than 7 points or whatever. But he played great defense and like kept you in it. And like that's where it really gets tough.
Well, and what's funny, Pete, is we nitpick his numbers and he should do this and he hasn't taken a step. There were 2 players in the NBA this year that averaged over 18 points, over 9 rebounds, and over 1.7 blocks. Just 2 guys, Victor Wembanyama and Evan Mobley. Yeah. Like he might not be on Wembanyama's level offensively, right? But like you look around the league, we can find Donovan Mitchells. You can find scorers. But like finding that 6'11", 7-foot unicorn that can play on the outside, he can play inside. He's not even a plus defender. He's a defensive player of the year candidate every single time he laces them up. Like I don't know, man. Everything is geared towards Donovan with this organization. But I don't know. I think Evan Mobley is going to be the reason that it ascends if it finally does.
The other element with LeBron, or if they did this with Jarrett Allen, LeBron will do it. They did it last year with Jarrett Allen. They have to feed those guys. Yeah. Like they start getting to a point where they fed Jarrett Allen and he'd go off for like 10 points in the first quarter.
Harden. When they traded for Harden.
Yes, Harden was a big component. Yes. Now, if they get LeBron, I suspect LeBron is going to like just keep throwing the ball at Evan Mobley and say, do stuff. Like get good. Whereas particularly before they traded for Harden, and obviously with Donovan, they were perfectly content just to play backcourt and just chuck it. And they get in these games where those guys never touch the ball and they just chuck the ball all over the place and then lose because they never got the ball that big. So, like, that's the other part where, look, I think you're never going to get me to go, Donovan Mitchell is a bad guy. He's not. Like, he's everything you want.
He's great.
Human being. But in terms of he needs to be whoever is playing, backcourt for them, needs to do a better job of feeding their bigs and then being in a position where they can play defense and then hopefully being able to play some amount of offense is to me more valuable over the long haul than getting, basically Bradley Beal or Eric Gordon or one of those guys, or who's the dude from the Hawks that ended up on the Nets, like Joe Johnson, like those guys. For like 6 years or whatever, they're going to score 25 points a game or whatever, and then
they're not going
anywhere. So like, and I don't want to say like Donovan Mitchell is Joe Johnson, but you can sort of that overall overarching sort of feeling with him of, yeah, he's gonna score some points, but like it doesn't really get you where you want to go. Again,
Yeah.
and while I'm saying this, because whether or not Mike Keefe is watching or not, I can feel him yelling at me. They made the Eastern Conference Finals. They had a successful season. Yeah, I know, but these were deficiencies that have been issues ever since they got done.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I mean that ultimately is like my issue with Donovan. I mean, if you wanna point to Jalen Brunson and be like, see, you could be a 6'2" or shorter guard and still lead your team to a championship and all that stuff. But the difference is Jalen Brunson didn't take a max deal. Like he took a phenomenally a phenomenal gift of a contract that allowed New York to make some pretty serious moves. And that's not what Donovan's done. So you need more from Donovan. And the thing is with his stature and everything like that, we see it every year. He starts to fade in the playoffs. It's a long season. It's a long season. And he's so good, but like he almost needs to be Robin. But at this stage in the game, that's impossible.
Right. And then, like, if you're trying to make the case, well, LeBron might fix this, is that they've had two small guards and then no legit wing. The combination of the things have been bad. So obviously, if you get LeBron, you now have a legit wing. But it's fair to question, is that going to fix the fact that you have two small guards?
Yeah.
And that's tricky for me. Now, the problem on all this, like, again, if you're asking me who would I trade first, Donovan all the way. What can you get is the question. I don't know what the answer is to that. It's going to make you sort of satisfied. Are you going to be able to satisfy one of those wing positions and then ultimately try to find somebody else who can play shooting guard? Challenging, but ultimately might be necessary in that scenario. Or do you just try to find a bigger shooting guard? I would hope it'd be for a wing player and then sort of figure it out, but that's the trick.
Yeah, it is tough though, and the contracts in the NBA are getting wild, and I can appreciate that Donovan signing this year.
Getting wild.
Well,
how much did Timofey Mozgov make way back when?
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, you've got guys that are making like, I mean, we're not far from dudes making $1 million a game, Pete, and especially with the whole taking every other night off, they're definitely making $1 million a game.
Yes, but Timofey got
like, that's on the horizon, dude.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Unless the NBA screws themselves to the amount of real scandals that they have between gambling and then this stuff with the Clippers, which just the NBA is pretending like there's nothing going on, but this is a huge.
The Clippers have been doing shady stuff for years, man.
Yeah,
for years.
But,
Ballmer don't care.
Well, I mean, because he's literally the richest owner by degrees. The NBA is certainly not going to be like they're not going to tell Steve Ballmer to get out.
Yeah.
So they have to decide, like, how are we going to play this? And ultimately, it seems like they are trying desperately to just sort of make it go away and put him under some sort of weird double secret probation that doesn't piss him off. Somehow the rest of the owners are going to be okay with the fact that this guy literally just straight up circumvented these cap rules and did this stuff. Now it didn't, and they may be able to sort of resolve to themselves. Well, it didn't get him anything, but still, like, if you keep giving him permission to do this, he's going to do it in some other way again, and at some point it's going to work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and look, these are smart people. They'll evolve their methods if you get privy to it. I'm sure they'll figure out some other way to do it. Now, and I know they still, like, they traded Kawhi 2 weeks ago, but nothing's gone through, right? It's still
both teams are on hold waiting for this investigation.
What the hell else are they doing that they can't get this investigation done? It's been 2 weeks. What are you doing?
Well, keep in mind, the Clippers and the NBA are the ones who hired the law firm. So they aren't invested. They have no investment in making this a public release. You are. I mean, if Ballmer is paying you, He's paying like this super reputable law firm. He's doing it to get the result he wants.
Yeah.
And any details never to be seen in the public eye. So yes, it's an active cover up. Yes, they're gonna come back and say some wishy-washy thing that's gonna be to the benefit of the Clippers, and then they're gonna get. That's what they're waiting on, for them to sort of finally clean this thing up before they make that move. Now, I always thought it was funny that it was gonna be. I thought it was funny that they paused it, because originally when they said the Raptors were trading, because this is the whole thing in the first place, the Raptors were trying to re-sign him. Now, if he wanted to leave, told his teammates as they were winning the championship he wanted to leave. Nevertheless, that was the other team that was sort of contending for his services, while the Clippers did this shady deal to sort of circumvent the cap. So then, like, it felt in some ways like a crappy trade, by the way, for the Clippers. It felt like this was sort of a way to sort of make good on this, was to trade Kawhi Leonard for a bad return, and that was sort of the punishment.
How about what about that Gary Trent Jr. contract that everybody's freaking out about? Yeah, like a $70 million deal after signing like a 1 year prove it deal and having a bad year, and then they gave him a $70 million deal the next year. So people are thinking like they agreed to do it beforehand to help him cap wise last year, and the NBA's digging into that.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is.
Well, his father played at Ohio University and was an absolute gangster. I don't know if you remember Gary Trent back in the day. That was
I remember him. Right there. I remember Gary Trent.
Yeah. Well, juniors, this kid, the same thing, just a little younger. That's all. Well, either way, Peter, it is always a pleasure. Wonderful show. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We appreciate it. We always do. Thank you to the OBR Network and the OBR.com and the OBR Streaming Network for hosting us. And guys, especially, we got Thursday, the rookie camp's kicking off next week. The vets come to town, all that good stuff. It's all happening, and it's all happening at the OBR. They're gonna have boots on the ground in Berea. Fred's gonna be doing it. Pete's gonna be doing it. You're going to hear from Barry, from Mike, from Lane, everybody. So be sure to check out OBR.com. This is we're done. We're done with the summer, boys. We got football back. We're ready to go. So make sure you get to the website, check it out. And thank you guys for stopping by. We'll see you all next Tuesday. Go Browns.